Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm, and today we carry on our series. And if you guys remember what we did in the last episode, then now we have the ability to stack items. So for example, here on the app, I have 3. You can stack max 3 per slot, and those little cubes here, they give me 10 each. So if I get them, I should only have 4 and then 1, because now I can stack. So now I have 6, 9, and then 10. And look, how cool is this? But now here's a problem. We have an issue here, because let's say that you are adding here, let's say, I don't know, 50, right? It could happen. The problem now is that you are gonna get the 50 items, but what about the rest of them? So what we need to be able to do here is a couple of options. Or we don't get the item at all, or we only get the quantity we can get, which will be the most easy, not easy way, but the most optimal way, but not necessarily the easy way to implement. So I'm going to go the first option, because the second option will be very like checking the items and make sure you have the slots. Maybe it's a possibility. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you can check, okay, do you have enough slots? Probably not. And then maybe you can do that. But anyway, so what we need to do here, right, is that we're going to go back to the inventory here. I'm going to refactor a couple of things in this to make things easy, as I always like to do here. So first of all, original item, that's fine. To be honest, I think we're using this elsewhere. So we're going to call this, instead of current, we're going to call this wanted quantity. Oh my gosh, wanted quantity and max quantity per stack. Okay, because I just realized in previous lesson that those are very hard names, so we need to make sure they are properly set up. And the item split, and we're just gonna call this can item split. Okay, it's it. That's fine. Now what we're gonna do here is that we are just going to spend some time commenting out, and I want you guys to do it as well, just so you guys get the habit of doing this on your games. This will increase the longevity of the games as well. And we are going to call this check if the item has a max per stack, right? And now what we are doing here, loop until, no more stack, until, loop until we can't more create stacks, right? Now in this case, right, what we got to do here is the wanted quantity and max per quantity. My wanted quantity, how many items I have, right? How many items quantity I have. And basically in here, create a new stack with the max quantity per stack. All right, here what we do is that we actually so if it's greater than 0, then yeah. So if if not 0, we add the remaining quantity. Else we stop loop. All right, nice. Now we have here a fully version of this, right? So it's fully working, so we can test it back. If I get here, I get 10, right? And that's fine. Now what I would like to do here is, and we can also test, let me just put 4, because it should be 3 slots, right? Yeah, 3 slots. And then so we have here 9, no, 8, and then 9, and then 10. Okay. And if you had 5, you should get just, usual, 2 slots, and here, I mean, here shouldn't work, but anyway. Okay, now that we have the amount of items we can actually add to our player, we need to be a little bit more smart about adding this, right? So I'm gonna go back here to the inventory items, and I'm just gonna refactor this a little bit to look more, I need space actually. We need more space to work with this. So I'm just gonna add this here, I'm gonna add this bigger there. Anyway, so let's just make it clear. So what happened here is that we are adding the item. Now we know how many item quantities we have. And here's the thing, we need to do a checking here before we can actually add the item, right? So I'm just gonna do it something like that. So here we're gonna basically, here is where we add the item, okay? Here's where we actually add the item. But now, we need to basically check, we need to loop on, we need to get how many slots available do we need to do this action. And if we need, let's say 10, or we only have 2, then we can't proceed, right? We can't do anything. So we need to create a new function that will do that for us. And these things start to get very complicated. So inventory. So I'm going to call inside a new category called add item. And then I'm also going to move this one here, right? And then basically I'm just going to change the name of this function to call fn. Sorry, we're going to call this split items per stack, right? So it's it means a little bit more. Split items per stack. Nice. Now we're going to basically duplicate this function here. And I'm going to call this fn. Let's say get available. Sorry, get free slots, right? And what we need here is that this function doesn't need to have an item, all right? And we basically need to create here a local variable called free slots. And we need to basically do item to add this and that. Now what we're going to do here is that every time we do is full, we mark it to false, right? But by the way, also it's a for each. Unfortunately, we need to loop through all the items. We can't just loop to one. I know this is a little bit performance heavy, but it's one of the main core of the items, right? We need to make sure that we check this. Anyway, we loop the item, and if it's full, right, we basically we can even, I just had another idea here. So free slots, and we can also call here taken slots. All right, we can actually return this and then display somewhere else. Sorry. So we're gonna get integer. This is gonna be also be integer, right? What we can actually do here as well, guys, is that make sure we can convert this here to a pure function, because we can just I'll show you what does the pure mean. But anyway, let's carry on with this logic. So we don't need this information because we don't need to set anything. From here, it's just that we get the free slots, we get the taken slots, and then what we do is a plus, or in this case, increment int. And here it's gonna copy and paste and do increment int as well, right? And so we do that, everything looks good. And now what we're gonna do is that on the return, we need to basically just get the free slots, taken slots, and also I'm just gonna call this, I'm just gonna add -l, just because Unreal Engine has the really annoying thing that, I mean L because it means local, because here you see L1, so then I can just do here and do that. It's just a trick to work with it, Unreal, with the blueprints. Okay. So now what we do here, just to get you guys aware, we get all the items, we loop them, and then what we do is that, okay, is this a slot full? If it is, we send to the count slot fulls to just increment. And then if it's not, we basically check that we have the available slots here, right? And then we just return that information right here. Now what we need to do, we go back to the inventory items. So when we add the items, we basically get the length, which means that how many items we're gonna add. So in this case, I think, did we set up the apple here is 5, so it should be 2. So if you try to pick up this guy here, it should say 2. See, 2 items, but nothing happening. Now what we do, okay, so what we do here is that we call that get free slots. And basically what we can actually do here is that we can print and we can say how many free slots we have. So in this case, we should have like 12. So we have 12 free slots. So we should be able to get the item, right? So how can we do this? Well, just create a branch. And by the way, because we mark as pure, now we can call this function like this. So if you untick that, look what happened. So we want to make sure it's pure. Okay. Now we basically calling the branch right here, right? And we need to make sure that does the free slots are greater or equal the length of the items we try to add. And if that is the case, we carry on. If that's not the case, right, we're gonna just for now print. We need to display, so you don't have free slots. One of the things I would like to do probably in the next series is just to display a banner, like a nice banner or some kind of a notification system. So I'm gonna just mark this to do add a notification system. Like for example, like in Helldiver where you have that little notifications display, like this one for example, right? This one, where is my mouse? Something like that, but for this game. Would be nice, it'd be nice. Anyway, let's try. It did removing the item. Well, oh, of course. Come on, Mario. We need to plug the item right here, right? I completely forgot about this stuff. We need to add the item. No, otherwise it won't add a stack. Right, so now what we basically gotta do here is that instead I'm gonna just delete that and I'm gonna copy and paste a couple of them just to add multiple items so I fill my inventory quite quickly. So there you go. So I'm gonna get this one. So I have 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Yeah, the item. Really? That's 12? Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So now let's just get the items here. So we get this, we get that. Okay. Get. Now the item, the last one, look at that. You don't have free slots. And the item is not being taken in consideration because you need to give free slots. So in this case, drop, and we need to drop, right? What we can actually do here is that, we could return saying, oh, you need 12 free slots. Yeah, you can actually do that. That's a simple calculation, right? What we can do here is that you get free slots minus the length, right? Or you got the length. Let's see this first, and then we can append and then say you need and then you put the slots, and then you can just do a space slots or something like this, right? So what happened is that we got the item here, get the item, and then you need -1 slot. Maybe it's the other way around. So we do this one first, that one there. I'm just trying to make the value positive. So I think is one of the order. I don't remember which one is the order. You need 1 free slots. But what we can do here is then make sure we call, I think it's pure, no. How do you make it? Let me just do a quick search here. How to make a negative value positive in Unreal. I think I searched for this stuff before. Absolutely. There we go. ABS, if remember. So ABS, doesn't matter if your logic is right or not, it always makes the value positive. So we can actually use that to display here. And to be honest, guys, that's the tutorial. That's what I wanted to cover for this part, is just to add the ability to block you to add infinite items on here. So as you can see, it doesn't work. And we can even open here the DT settings, right? So we can open up here the settings in this case, and we can search for the player to go to a list, right? And we can press play. And now here, I think it should work exactly the same, right? It's just, so everything is added here, but now like you need one slot extra. And yeah, of course this swapping thing still works, you know, like I can drop, I can get, for example, the sword, and that will kind of work still. But that's fine, you know, I don't mind it. It's a nice thing to have. Yeah, but as usual, I prefer the grid list. I think I'm more old school in this sense. I think that's everything I would like to cover. I think in the next one, what I would like to do is to add the ability to split items. You know, if you have, let's say, 5 apples right now, and we would like to add the ability to split. So the split is pretty much like the vendor kind of thing. But the only difference is that basically you are removing an item, or you are updating a quantity of an item in this case, and then you are re-adding the item again. So you get the item on the slot, you remove the quantity, and then re-add the quantity. So I think what we need here is some kind of a function that we're gonna have to add for sure to basically this is going to be even used so when we consume an item, for example, we just update the quantity. So it's something I'm going to cover in the next one. So once again, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I see you in the next one.